All right, so my number 2 on my list. This guy is somebody that unfortunately I think is probably the most unrealistic to end up a Cleveland Brown on my list. Just because he's going to test unreal. Like, he is going to test unreal. And we've seen players similar to him coming into the draft slip, and I think you probably know who I'm talking about by now. But I think given the success of the 2 guys in particular who he is being compared to, I think he will end up being picked higher because of it. I think despite maybe the lack of long-term consistency, if that makes sense, I think there's going to be a team that's going to say, yeah, we're taking a chance on this guy. And I think he will be a great receiver at the next level. And I'm talking about Xavier Legette, South Carolina. He is a monster. 6'3", 227 pounds. He is 23 years old. And yes, you did hear me right. 6'3", 227 as a wide receiver. And don't be fooled. That is all 227 pounds of pure muscle. He is a freak. He's an absolute freak. And again, obviously there I'm talking about A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf. I think Xavier Legette's going to end up being a probably bottom of the first round pick, if I had to guess. For me, it's kind of up in the air, right? If a team's going to take a chance on him, and this is what I'm talking about, right? Long-term consistency. 2022, 18 receptions, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns, 9.3 average. That's little to nothing. 2023, 71 receptions, 1,255 yards, 7 touchdowns, 17.7 average. So, quite literally added on by 1,000 yards plus from season to season, and over doubled his touchdowns. So, there are people who will say, maybe he's a one-year wonder, right? And again, we've seen, like, Treylon Burks. Treylon Burks was a guy who I was high on, who was compared to DK and was compared to A.J. Brown. With Treylon Burks, there's a lot of issues there, but I think it was because we hadn't seen a player since AJ, DK, and people tried to really make, Treylon Burks into being that. And certainly there's some comparisons, for sure. And I still like Treylon Burks to an extent, and he's shown some flashes, but I think Xavier Legette is, wow. Like, some team's going to get a dynamic, great receiver, a freak athlete, and, who could be a monster, right, at the next level. But again, it's one season. He's going to test unreal. He has great speed for his size. Like, he moves unbelievably fast for his size. And again, this is why I think he's kind of a little bit of too much of a dream, because I think he's going to test so well, and especially when it comes to the 3-cone, when it comes to the 40-yard dash, when it comes to those sorts of things, that I think teams are going to be like, yep, no, we're going to take the risk. And I think, unfortunately, he's going to be out of the Browns' range. But nevertheless, I'm putting him on the list just because, if Andrew Berry wanted to move up, who knows? But yeah, great speed for his size. He adjusts to the ball well. Great contested catch ability. He's a bully. He is a bully downfield. He's a bully with the ball in his hands, but especially like in jump ball situations, he's just going to tell you he's bigger. He's just going to tell you he's bigger and more athletic than you, and he's going to get the ball. And when you turn on his tape, it's just, you just sit there and say, this is crazy. Like, this is insane. He's a freak. He's a freak. He's a freak athlete. I think he's arguably the most intriguing receiver in this draft. When it comes to potential, he's top of the list. And he's top of the list potential-wise at any position in this draft. Now, he does have some cons. Again, like I said, only the year of producing at this high of a level. His burst off the line is not as good as I think you would want it to be, right? He takes a minute to maybe build up the speed. His footwork is something that's still developing. His change of direction speed is something that he's going to have to work on as far as getting more, just improving, right? And cutting in and out of his routes and that sort of thing. But for the Browns, if you could bring in a Xavier Legette with Amari Cooper, with Elijah Moore, man, he's special. He is. We'll see. We'll see on Xavier Legette. I'm fascinated by him. Just because of what he could be. And I think he will. I think he's not going to be like a Burks situation where people go, oh, there's only one DK and whatever. Like, no. I think Xavier Legette will play at a high level. Are you going to put those sorts of expectations on him? That's fine if you want to. But, when you have a guy moving at 6'3", 227 pounds of pure muscle, who moves as well as he does, can jump, who can catch, he's special. He's special. He can play outside. He can play inside if he wanted to. And hey, the Browns already have one freak athlete as a receiving threat in David Njoku. Why not add another one if you can? Xavier Legette. So, again, I'm not going to get my hopes up for this one, but if he's in striking distance, that could be interesting for sure. That could be interesting. He's fun, right? He's a guy that I would say go watch his highlights because you're going to be pumped. And by the way, I didn't just watch highlights. I did work on this. It's not just a highlight review, but you get the point. Nevertheless, he's my second player. Whether if it's unrealistic or not, too good not to put on this list for me. So, Xavier Legette is my number 2.